I'm Eden Shekel. Thanks for joining us. The judge who presided over the Karmelo Anthony case in Collin County was recused today. A new judge will take over tomorrow for Anthony's appeal hearing. The 19-year-old was convicted of murder and sentenced to 35 years in prison back in June for the 2025 Frisco track meet stabbing of Austin Metcalf. And today's ruling is considered to be a win for Anthony. Fox 4's Alex Boyer was inside of the courtroom and has details on what's next. Alex.
Hi, Eden. Yeah, certainly a win for Karmelo Anthony today as his legal team pushes forward for a new trial. As we now know, Judge Roach is now out and a new judge will take over this high-profile case from here. Now, like before, no cameras were allowed inside of the courtroom for this morning's hearing. Karmelo Anthony was wearing a green prison jumpsuit and handcuffs initially when he was brought in by the bailiffs. His hair cropped short. Anthony, who is now 19 years old, convicted of the murder of Austin Metcalf back in June and sentenced to 35 years in prison after a jury had rejected his claims of self-defense during a confrontation with Metcalf at a school track meet last year. Now, Anthony's legal team, led by Russell Wilson, argued this morning that a retrial was warranted in part because Judge Roach enforced overly strict courtroom rules, which really limited public access, and also gave a TV interview 2 days after the trial was over and well within the window for an appeal to be filed. Now, the judge sided with the defense and ordered that Judge Roach be recused. That led to cheers outside of the courtroom by dozens of Karmelo Anthony supporters who listened into the proceedings from an overflow courtroom and then marched and chanted outside here in the parking lot. Metcalf's family, who of course was also in the courtroom today, appeared stunned and obviously disappointed by the ruling. They did not have any comment as they left the courtroom. Now, keep in mind that this is just step one. Tomorrow, the new judge will ultimately hear arguments from Anthony's same legal team who is here today asking for a new trial, raising constitutional and legal challenges to the original trial.
Longtime defense attorney.
Yes, sir.
We have crime and justice reporter Rebecca Lopez. Let's break the news first.
Yeah.
What happened today?
So today, a visiting judge, or a judge that was appointed by the presiding judge, who is Judge Wheelis here in this area, basically appointed a new judge, Judge Sid Harrell, and he heard arguments from the defense on whether or not Judge Roach, the original judge in this case, should be removed, and he ruled yes, he should, and he removed him off this case.
This hearing lasted only an hour and 20 minutes. Talk about the rubric that the Judge Sid Harrell used to make that determination.
Right. So it was. I don't want to say confusing, but it was a legal point that he made, basically saying y'all filed this motion for recusal and listed a number of different reasons. I'm going to rule on your recusal based on one point that was brought up, and that is that reasonable person standard from the outside looking in at the proceeding, whether or not things were done fairly and impartially and can continue to be fair and impartial. And he believed that Judge Roach's comments to a particular reporter here in Dallas on a particular date that is standing a foot from my left, that he asked the questions and the Roach gave answers that kind of tended to show that he's maybe made his mind up on the motion for new trial before it ever even happens. So I do think that a part of it from our judge today was an abundance of caution. Mm-hmm. The appeals process is a confusing thing as well. What's in front of the court right now was the recusal motion first and now a motion for new trial over the next day or two. That does not include his quote-unquote appeal, okay? So this is not about his appeal. One of the things that this...
Yo, it's Big Ant, the spokesman, man. We back. Another edition of Urban Politicians TV, UPTV. Make sure you stay on your pivot at all times, man. Had to come tap in, and I had a links in the description where you can watch the clips in the beginning in full from Fox 4 News out of Dallas and WFAA as well. And I'm going to get into the write-up just a little bit in a second to kind of go back over some things as it was breaking news on major news sites and all over the internet earlier today that Karmelo Anthony made a court appearance today with the new defense team, and they managed to get a win from what they say in the legal conversation for the judge being removed from this trial because of the fact he gave this interview after it, and that was in the time frame of an appeal being filed. So from the outside looking in, the new judge that was appointed to make this decision to remove him said, well, hey, that can come off as being biased with how everything went down and played out within that time frame. And even crazier, that interview that judge gave was actually done right there by that news site, WFAA, and I did watch that at that time. The whole thing is like 18 minutes long. Then it had other clips as well. And in that moment, I was even like looking at it like, okay, well, he gave that interview. But then also what the prosecutor has said in that one point in time on the interview kind of struck me as odd in myself. Now, this is still going to be an uphill battle. They go back to court tomorrow to see about having a retrial. That the appeal process will be something completely different in itself also as well. Now, with how everything played out, this was back in June. It do seem like a lot of time has already kind of gone by. He went directly from the court pretty much on the prison yard within the next day, which kind of came off as odd, just keeping it all the way 100, looking at how that played out. We did see official video footage of everything that went down in that moment and how this whole situation played out. And it's one of these things, bro, we never know how it's going to turn out. Getting an appeal or getting this overturned is a major, major process. This is going to be a very high profile decision tomorrow, or just any decision that goes on with this case from here on out. The judge who presided over Texas teenager Karmelo Anthony's murder conviction was removed on Wednesday ahead of a key hearing to decide whether to grant a retrial in the fatal stabbing of a 17-year-old athlete at a high school track meet. The removal was a legal victory for Anthony, now 19, whose attorneys wanted the judge off the case following the June trial, partly because of a TV interview in which the judge said jurors got it right when they delivered a guilty verdict in the killing of Austin Metcalf. On Thursday, Anthony was expected back in court for a hearing that will next determine whether a retrial is warranted. Now, with everything else being said with this, him saying got it right, that is a conversation of like, this is a conflict of interest now before you make this decision. Once you say that they got it right on camera, they're also taking it to the other step. I just disagree with this, and I don't make the calls or the laws, but I felt like we should have got more access to the courtroom with something this high profile. I want to see for myself. I know reporters are coming in and telling us what they said, but I kind of want to see it, how everything played out. There's supposedly, allegedly, some agreement that they had agreed on as well. Didn't go through in full. So, and when you look at everything, how it played out, it's a lot of he say, she say, they get reported with it. I'm just going to wait for the facts to come out. I just tell people like this right here, this is one of them ones. It is what it is. We done seen how families feel. We done seen how parents feel. You see how people really done felt about it. There's a possibility that we might see a retrial again. Now, it's going to be a long process right here. I just hadn't seen nothing like this before happen this fast, which just had me up in the questions of like, where we at now, bro? Like, people keep saying it ain't about this, it ain't about that. We don't have to sugarcoat it and run from it. We'll keep it all updated on it. Once more facts come out, we'll come through and update y'all with those as well. Tell me what y'all think. We got more coming, more videos, all that. 1000 for shit show. Stay on you.